This is why I love veganism, right here, right? This is exactly why. Like, as a socialist, why I love veganism. It's the only movement I can see in the world that genuinely tries to engage people in ethical consumerism. The biggest anti-vegan tweets that go popular are the ones that reassure people that they aren't the problem. It's not you, it's the big evil corporations who are just trying to meet the demand of all of y'all at the cheap price you want as fast as y'all want it. Like, absolutely. This is why I love veganism, right here, right? This is exactly why. Like, as a socialist, why I love veganism. It's the only movement I can see in the world that genuinely tries to engage people in ethical consumerism in a way that's actually managing to get people to take responsibility for their actions. And then you've got people like Vosh or something coming along and saying, like, you know, no consumption's ethical under capitalism. And it's like, even if we agree that everything is shit and that the world is just terrible, it's dystopian, then we can all still understand that there are options that are worse than others, and consuming meat, dairy, and eggs is always the worst. Actively killing another individual. And so I love this because it's just this idea of like personal responsibility, like being inspired, like as a socialist in the proletariat, is unbelievably valuable. And then like even just as like an individual, like anyone who cares about like freedom and responsibility, and I think even the conservatives who talk about taking responsibility for yourself and maturity, like there is nothing more mature than taking the responsibility for your consumptive habits. And as like right-wing conservatives, you should be doing the same. And this is why I say that we should keep veganism as like a non-partisan political agenda, because if we try and promote veganism just to everyone and just say, look, right, you're responsible for your actions, you're an adult, you make these decisions yourself, are you going to kill another individual for like the most trivial preference? And if they say yes, then we can just turn around and go, well, that's just childish, that's immature, that's selfish, and we do not condone that behavior. And I think that's where vegans like do the best. And this is absolutely right. And this nonsense as well that like corporations will meet the demand as well of a vegan population, and they already are. Like, vegan products are booming, and they're one of the largest growing sectors because of the growing demand in veganism. When you're shopping for vegan food, ingredients, broccoli, milk powder. That's too real. That's too real. Why is it in everything? It's like milk, or like, you know, like basically like milk again as a whey. They're like, you think you're reading something, oh, it's okay, whey? Or like you're reading something else that like seems like it should be totally vegan, like it's some like stupidly like, we're super natural brand. Everything that we produce is unbelievably natural. And then you read it and it's like honey. You're like, right. This isn't okay. Save the puppies. Bacon though. It is terrible. But like obviously both are obviously rejected by vegans. Like we do think that both are absolutely disgustingly cruel. It's unbelievable how horrible the world treats animals. It does make me feel physically repulsed. Obviously I don't have to say that pigs are sentient creatures, right? Why we're harming them? Even if we dismiss the fact that I think the fourth most intelligent animal in the world, like it's meaningless really. Like the whole point is that they feel pain and pleasure, and right now you're basically frustrating their most basic desires. Like pigs do not want to be kept in small pens. They don't feel comfortable with that. The way that they're treated, the way that they have their tails docked, the way that they're castrated if they're males, the way that they're beaten, exploited, even in terms of like for feeding their young. The whole industry. I recommend everyone go check out, you know, documentaries like Earthlings, Dominion, Land of Hope and Glory. They'll show you like how terribly pigs are treated. Even slaughterhouse workers talking about how they've harmed pigs in the past in terms of like the humor, or even taking their frustrations out on pigs. And this isn't even considering the fact that they're slaughtering them for in any ways. Like the fact that no matter what, the best scenario is them having their throats slit. They're still torturing these animals, like beating them, cutting their noses off, rubbing salt in the wounds even. Awful stories from slaughterhouse workers and how they've treated pigs. Absolutely disgusting. Honestly, cannot understand the logic of these people. So you'll stop using the straws to save the fish, but you won't stop eating fish to save the fish. Absolutely. Although, fuck Ellen, right? Like with a fake vegan status. Like she's not even a vegan, right? And I don't say that like, oh, this person's not a vegan. She sells leather, right? You can't be a vegan and sell animal product. Like if vegans won't consume animal products, then we certainly don't sell them to other people to consume. That's even worse. Like now you're responsible for all their consumptive habits as well. Yeah, your booty is nice, but how thick is your love for the environment? Yeah, man, Bill Nye though. Gotta get those vegan booty gains, man. You can get a booty as a vegan. It's no problem, man. Nah, but like in terms of like love for the environment, like the number one cause of deforestation, ocean dead zones is animal agriculture, not including animal agriculture is the number one cause of climate change. Greenhouse gas emissions associated with animal agriculture in terms of methane production from cows and in terms of CO2 usage used to transport animal products around the world, but also feed animals. The Amazon rainforest, which is one of the largest carbon stores in the world, is being burnt down for animal agriculture so that they can put cows on that land, or cows and other animals on that land. It also consumes the most amount of water than any other business, and consumes, I think, is it 1 pound of beef costs about the same amount of water as about 5 months of showering. So if you imagine like not showering for 5 months, you would save the same amount of water as not eating a single burger, or like 4 burgers, I think, maybe if you have like quarter pounders. Another thing to consider is the fact of where this water is even coming from. Places like Sao Paulo never even had droughts until animal agriculture started popping up next to it. What we are doing is we are giving animals who are going to be consumed and going to be mistreated and tortured the natural resources that would have otherwise been available to humans, so that we can sustain a greedy and to be honest, one of the most disgusting and vilely selfish habits that you could ever have. The reality is that being vegan is not a privilege. It's a necessity. Well, I'm here. I'm raised on steak and potatoes, a 35-year-old truck driving redneck. Any tips? All right, cool, man. This is like someone like actually like considering going vegan. So I took a massive dose of mushroom. All right, where we're going with this. All right, I took a massive dose of mushrooms a few days ago. And while petting my cat, was enlightened to how awful the meat and dairy industry is. I started researching about how bad animal products are for your body, and it blew my fucking mind. I watched Cowspiracy and What the Health, and I'm 100% converted. I have zero inclination to ever eat meat again. What a lad. Everyone, round of applause. I'm currently living with my mother as well, and even convinced her about how bad it is. She watched What the Health and immediately got rid of every animal product in the kitchen she could find. We donated the unused animal products to my brother because I didn't want them to die for nothing. Don't really know what the right option was there, but the deed is done. Well, that's fair enough. What I would have probably done is, obviously, if you thought it was, I don't know if you're trying to kill your brother after, but if you're already, I would say like what you should do like with the animal products really is I would probably feed them to animals like like obligate carnivores or something like that. Like that's probably maybe the best option. It's about all you really can do, or donate them to like the homeless or someone who needs it, has no other choice. But either way, I think you're doing the right thing, guy. You're doing the great thing. I went and spent $200 on strictly vegan stuff. Jesus Christ, that better have been a good shop, man. If you went and spent $200 on like a tiny little shop, then I can tell you've already bought the wrong products. I had no idea what to get, as one of my ex-girlfriends was vegan. I just kept searching online at the store. Right, one of your ex-girlfriends was vegan, right? And they never clocked then. Well, that's fair enough, right? You're doing it now. I'm proud anyway. Let's keep going. I just kept searching stuff online at the store, and I wasn't sure. I know deep in my soul that this is how it's supposed to be. We're not in a place of our first world lifestyles where animal products are necessary in any way. We've evolved past that. Absolutely. It is something that needs to die in the depths of history. We were past that like a long time ago. To be entirely honest, we've been past that for such a long time that even the words we use represent the consumptive habits of the general population. The reality is that most people throughout history have been consuming plant products, whilst animal products were basically made for the rich. It wasn't until like factory farming and Bernard Matthews and so on that animal products really became like available to the masses anyway. So we've actually kind of went down a bit. Like animal products weren't even like a big thing in the average everyday person's life. And you can even see that in the words we use for animal products, right? Cows, chickens, and pigs are the animals, and that's the words we use in English, whilst the words we use for the meat, like, beef, are actually like from boff, like the French word for cow, because the aristocracy in England was French from the Norman invasion in 1066, and they were primarily the people consuming animal products. So the words that were used for the animal products themselves were French, whilst the words used for the animals were in Anglo-Saxon, Saxon rather, and for the average everyday individual. The people working the fields, people consuming, the people that were actually producing the animals were consuming plants, whilst the people who were wealthy enough to actually afford the animals were aristocrats. Most people have been vegan, at least mostly vegan, in terms of having a mostly plant-based diet for most of human history. The pushback I've gotten from a couple of people I've told and Discord group are insane. Absolutely, like you get an unbelievable amount of backlash. Like people are really thinking you're doing the wrong thing becoming vegan. I never had an opinion on it before, and I never felt like I needed to tell something how dumb it was not to be one. I did. ashamed to say, like, before I was vegan and enlightened to like the actual movement, I was like, oh my god, you shouldn't become vegan, you will get sick. What about your health? You'll be like one of those dumb people, like, like you're going to die. And then here I am. I used to be like, protein, but what about protein? That was me. Like, I can't believe it. But that was like 6 years ago nearly. These people don't care about my health until I want to diet, and then they won't do it. So annoying. I wanted to throw a chair. Absolutely. No one gives a shit. Like, you could be eating McDonald's all the time, and then you go, I'm going to go vegan. And they're like, are you sure that's healthy? Any tips to help me out? How do we deal with haters? Honestly, I would say, like, just stay calm for the most part. Like, you just got to, like, it's easier said than done. You've just got to kind of approach them with understanding and sympathy. Like, remember that they are being ideologically blinded by perhaps the most indoctrinating ideology the world's ever seen. It is the dominant ideology in every major culture to eat meat. Maybe bar like some Buddhist countries, but even then, like the Buddhist countries are still like meat eaters typically. There is a real issue there, and so you're asking people to see through like thousands of years of like misguided, misinformed judgments and practices. And that's a lot to deal with. What can I expect as far as trials that come with this decision? I never faced like social exclusion, but a lot of people seem to talk about having faced social exclusion, and it's really terrible. I would say that you probably like find that you end up pushing off a lot of people as well, because you get so frustrated that they just don't listen to the arguments. You present a rational decision and then you get like, haha, bacon though. Or you get like, well, I just don't care. Like some of my friends have said in the past, like, I really don't care. Like one of my friends said, like, I said, like, well, would you care if you were the one doing the killing? Like you were the one killing the animals. And he was like, I would kill a lamb if it was here. And I was like, no, you wouldn't. I was like, just call bullshit straight. I was like, no, you wouldn't. I was like, yeah, absolutely wouldn't. I was like, if you realized that you could choose between an apple that was sat there or slitting a lamb's throat, if you would choose to slit a lamb's throat, then I want nothing to do with you. But he just sort of like, just sort of like stop talking. And like, it's all big words and like, this hyper masculinity, like, I would kill it myself. And it's like, well, if you would kill it yourself, then you're a bad person. That doesn't show us like, oh, I'm so masculine. It's like, oh, wow, you could kill a defenseless, poor little animal. What a man you are. Right? Like, yeah, right. Like that doesn't make you hard. It makes you a little bit pathetic, a little bit weak, that you can't deny your most trivial desires for what is right. You have no backbone, you have no gumption, you have no standards. And that's ultimately, ironically, like supposedly like the least masculine thing ever. We're supposed to be, as men, like quote unquote, the masculine ideal is to be like hyper rational. Well, if you're hyper rational, then you should be vegan. So yeah, I mean, it's absolute nonsense. Obviously men aren't more rational than women. It's a lie. But at the same time, it's to say that most of the people that like play into that like stereotype are usually the people that like, I need my meat. And it's like, well, they're actually contradictory. I've been binging all night on animal-free products. Not gonna lie, I'm a bit stressed about it. Edit, wow, an overwhelming amount of responses on this. Didn't expect so much love and support. Oh, well, I'm really glad that you've got like the right community guy. Obviously, I'm glad that you're convinced of the ethics. And it's really nice to see more men join the movement, man. At least, he sounded like a man. That was a man, right? Am I just judging it because of the way he was? He just sounds like a man as well. Like he's like raised on steak and potatoes. 34-year-old truck driving redneck. He's describing himself as a man. He had a girlfriend. Obviously, could be like a 34-year-old redneck meat and steak loving lesbian. I mean, that's possible. I think I'm just going to assume it's a man without any real inclination otherwise, but that's just my best guess. And either way, it's nice to see, if it is a man, that more men are going vegan, because, to be entirely honest with you, we definitely need more vegan men. We're outnumbered like 3 to 1.